For this video, what we're going to cover is we're going to cover how to do a basic um, internet search for medical literature, what we will call literature search, using the website pubmed.gov. That's PUBMED.gov. Um, and I'm going to share my screen here very shortly and get everything up and running. Um, So I'm going to share my screen now. So the very first thing I would do is I would go to my address bar and go to pubmed.gov. Some of this is going to be incredibly trivial for most people. However, this will sort of give you an idea of what's available. And I want to take it, step by step. So there's a bunch of user guides, a bunch of other things. I find the easiest way to get into this for PubMed, which is through the National Library of Medicine, which is funded by the U.S. taxpayers through the National Center for Biotechnology Information. And these are relatively quite inexpensive overall. It says here PubMed comprises more than 39 million citations for biomedical literature from Medline, life science journals, and online books. Citations may include links to full text content from PubMed Central and or publisher websites. So let's say we're interested in um, wound healing and plantain. So there's a weed here in the United States. I'm sure it's go everywhere. Um, and I'll be doing a video about it in a little while, I think. But it's basically the plantain, Plantago family, uh, or genus, I should say. So if we do that search, um, it is not super happy, but we do get um, uh, some results. Um, so the one thing that it probably is going to be not so probably will help us is if we use Plantago major or Plantago itself. Let's see what happens if we do that. I can spell it. We add that, we get 55 results. Um, so if we're going to do a literature review, that's some of the stuff would be interesting to um, do a literature review perhaps on this. And what I'm going to do now is basically click on a few of these results and give you some idea of what you're looking at. Um, so there are numerous publications that are listed on the PubMed.gov and that come up with the search engine. You can see here that it goes back all the way to 1963, but I can assure you it goes back into the late 1800s as well, um, because many libraries have been digitizing their records and at least have digital records. In some cases, just the whole article is digitized. More and more of this is becoming freely available. Um, but for example, if we click on this, this is a relatively, right now it has, has it sorting by most recent. You can change that to a best match, which it sort of changes things. Wound management, effective Plantago major on wound healing and preclinical studies, a systematic review. That might be a good place to start if we have no idea about the literature. Um, and then, we can do most recent, uh, sort by most recent, which is what I had it on. And this will be um, sorted by most recent. I mean, it's pretty much a simple uh, search engine. Um, if I click on this article and I want to know, well, there are two different kinds of literature out there. There's literature that's peer reviewed and there's literature that's not peer reviewed. Now, the peer review process is somewhat complicated. I can go into it at some point. But the short of it is, a long story short, is that when I submit something for publication in a journal, an academic journal, they will send it out for review. And that review usually takes it can take 4 weeks. I've seen it come back that fast, but frequently it's more like 3 months, 6 months. And then it comes back, and there's usually a bunch of things that I need to make sure that I've done and changed. And sometimes that has to do with the state of the field. Like maybe I did a study and I forgot some literature or something, or I didn't take this hypothesis into account. There are several things that can come up in peer review. So this article has gone through this, and if I hover over the blue hyperlink here, it'll say Planta Medica, which is a peer-reviewed journal. And then I can say, well, where are these people from? Where are the researchers from? And so this this research group is in Indonesia. Um, so they probably have what they tell us that they've done here is there's an abstract here, which basically what that tells us this is a research article or a review. Because in PubMed, anything that's a correspondence, like a letter to the editor, for example, will not have an abstract. And some other articles will not have abstracts. And what you can do here is you can see that this is available. It says see full text app options. That's not always the best news because it may be behind a paywall, but it may not. It's difficult to say. Let me see. What does it say here? It's got a bunch of advertisements, which are normal for journals nowadays. But yeah, it wants me to log in, and I'm not going to accept their consent. Theme is publisher that publishes Planta Medica. Um, I'm sure they're good, but if you are without significant resources, you may not have access to this journal. Um, so, but this tells me that there has been something published on um, Plantago major extract in enhancing the wound healing process just this year. So August 19th, last month, in fact. So what I can do is another clue I can look for is I can say, okay, so this says free PMC article. Well, what does that mean? So I look here and I click on Scientific World Journal, and this appears to be an original article because it has a background, aims, methods, results, conclusion, and usually studies that are an original article end up looking like that. And then it says that I can access this for free. So if I want to look here, these are talking about silver nanoparticles, which are known to be antibacterial, and they have dermal patch films. And what they're doing is they're using um, Plantago major leaf extract as a bioreduct. Um, so I assume that these films and formulations have some Plantago major extract uh, embedded in them. That may be I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading this because it's not necessarily what I'm looking for. Um, you can see that this is open access. You see the CC here, which is the Creative Commons copyright. And this group is from, do they say? Not that it really matters. But you can, you know, see what they're doing here. And they, obtained their leaves from the Center for Research and Development of Medicinal and Traditional Medicinal Plants in Central Java, Indonesia. So we can go back. We go back again. And then what I want to show you also is, I did not mean to click on it. What I wanted to show you is um, in some of these cases, it's just got a little, it gets a little funny sometimes. You can see here the word review. So when you look at these individual records, you have the title of the record, the authors, Planta Medica, the journal, what year it was published here, month, uh, more information about the journal. So like what page it would be found on, what volume it's in. It's in volume 90, for example, here. The digital object identifier, or DOI, which can give you a link directly to that uh, publication. And I can show you here that in a second. That the PubMed ID, which gives you an ID, you can actually note this down. If you're in a hurry, note this down, this number down, and then put it into the search engine up here. So if I just instead put this number in the search engine, it pulls up this um, article record. So Planta Medica, it's the same journal we were looking at before. However, this full text is available. Now, this is a review. So this is not original research, but it gives you an overview of whatever they've decided to include in the review. It says here this work introduces the Volksmed database, which contains plants and other materials in the Austrian folk medicine, used in Austrian folk medicine, either as monographs or mixtures, which I think they might, I don't know what that is. This work focuses on the monographs of the database, so these are books. And it also, if we scroll down, they'll say, that there's the authors have declared no conflict of interest. They probably are university professors that do this as part of their work, and they're at the University of Vienna. And then this is the DOI, which I said was a link that goes directly to that. And I will open that up here and show you that it does, in fact, go directly to the abstract, where we can get the full text if we want it, and introduction, everything here. So what my point of showing you here is that they show that they have no conflicts of interest. You can go down to the bottom here of the page and, look at related similar articles. These have gotten decent. It also says cited by here. So like if something has been recently cited this work or has ever cited this work and it's in the PubMed database, it'll be there. Um, it gives you the publication type, review, um, and there's links out and other information there. Um, Now, another type of search you can do is on an author, and I'm just gonna um, narcissistically search myself. Actually, I'm searching myself because I know some of the examples of things that I want to show you are on this. It looks like you're searching for an author. Change that. I can change that. So, okay, so I've written a couple of reviews recently, or published a couple of reviews. So one thing I wanted to show you here is that this is an announcement that was a letter to the editor. There's a bunch of us in this group. But what you can see, what's important to see here is that there's no abstract available. And that means that this was not necessarily peer reviewed. This did have some review, um, and in large part because there are so many authors on here. Um, Everybody wanted to make sure that it was correct. Um, and it was basically, you know, published there. Um, you can see that the majority of my articles are free in PubMed Central. Most of my articles have been published using um, using um, funded by taxpayer dollars, by government dollars. So one way or another, the publication fees. So those are required to be uh, deposited in PubMed Central. You can see that this one is an exception because they actually ask us to write that review. Um, and then I think yeah. So that's basically a good tour of PubMed. Um, and I'm going to make another video, I think, on Google Scholar because I find that helpful. It's a little more investigator oriented, I find, but you can find a bunch of stuff on there as well. So thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a great evening.